Hi, I'm Jody Daly, and this is Let's Talk. And today, we're talking about traveling over the holidays. Now, it may strike fear into the hearts of many of you, but not so much my three guests. They love holiday travel. And stick around and see why.
Want to enjoy the holiday season? It can be a little easier when you rely on your supermarket store brands for the things you need. Whether it's food or household items, you get the same quality as national brands, but spend less. This can really add up. In fact, a family of 4 can save almost $2,000 a year on their weekly grocery purchases. It's enough money for all of next year's holiday gifts.
I have to confess, when we floated the idea of doing a show on holiday travel, I thought the perfect open would be to have everybody tell their horror stories. But then I met these three, and that wasn't their focus at all. Sure, they've all had challenges, but they love to travel even through the holiday season. With me today is Mark, and you are an industry travel expert specializing in airlines and hotels. Liz, who is the brave mother of 2 who goes to London every Christmas and has lived to tell about it. Congratulations. And Stan, not only do you travel the world for business and pleasure, but you actually worked for a major airline for several years. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Now, I'm going to just open this up. Why do you think travel during the holidays is different than it is any other time of year?
It's a great energy. Everyone's excited to see family and loved ones. But from an industry perspective, the travel business is a pure example of supply and demand. So when you have a lot of people traveling at the same time, expect higher prices and fewer options.
Higher prices, fewer options. Stan, you want to jump in on that?
Well, from the airlines experience that I've had, the sheer volume of the passengers that we're processing, it grows amazingly. And also, if there is any issue with the delays, it's a domino effect.
Domino
that
effect,
affects
of course.
it, yeah.
And you've found that out specifically, haven't you, over the years? What is it about holiday travel that's different for you? And your 2 children,
Yes, and
both under how old?
They're 12 and 14, yeah.
But you've been doing this forever,
Oh,
right?
forever, since they were babies, since they were newborns. I mean, we brought them over at all times. And there's always a nervous excitement. My kids now love it. And there's the excitement of seeing the family over in London. But also, because it's the holidays, they feel like they can be treated more to things. So even though we're worried about spending and we're trying to save and cut corners by doing stopovers, the kids have an excitement. Well, we're at the gift shop at the airport, they can buy things because it's the holidays.
Now, I'm going to jump on that. Stopover is your aha moment.
It is.
Tell us why.
We realized we wanted to get to some other places, but we had to go. We have to be in London for Christmas, no matter what, to visit family, my husband's family. And I was getting frustrated, like, we need to go other places. We're only in London. And my husband and I sat down and realized you could do a stopover and save money. So you can visit another place before we get to London and still have lots of money left over to use on Airbnbs or wherever.
So just to be clear, instead of taking a nonstop to London, which is X amount of dollars, you would stop over where?
We stopped in Iceland first. We went to Reykjavik and spent 3 days there and saved money, hundreds each ticket.
So it pretty much pays for the trip to Reykjavik.
Completely. It paid for our trip to Iceland. And we stayed in an Airbnb for $100 a night. So it really all paid off. And we kind of ended up either breaking even or spending even less just by having that stopover.
That's great.
Yeah.
But there are those things that do go wrong. And Mark, both you and Liz had problems with passports. Tell us about that.
Correct. I think everyone knows to check their passports if they're traveling internationally.
Check your passports.
Make sure they're valid.
Have a passport, for God's sake.
Absolutely. But what a lot of people don't know is that some countries require that your passport is valid for at least 60 days after your departure and has to have 2 free pages for visa stamps. Unfortunately, I know someone who arrived at the airport with a valid passport that it was going to expire in a month and was denied boarding.
Denied boarding. This is over the holidays. So as you said, supply and demand, there's no seats left. What happened?
Fortunately, she was able to get rebooked for the following day, and the passport agency was open the next day, and we found out, to our surprise, that the passport agency does accommodate emergency walk-ins. So without an appointment, she was able to get her passport in about 3 hours total. However, the caveat is that she had to arrive basically before the sun was up, and the office was open, and the line was already around the entire block.
Liz is nodding over there. Same thing?
Yeah, I had kind of a similar experience. This is going way back when my son was just a few months old. I worried about everyone, especially the baby, having the baby's passport, my daughter's passport, my husband. I never checked mine, and it was Christmas, and we got to the airport, and Mine was expired.
How long did it take you to get it fixed?
Within 24 hours,
Perfect.
we found a rush passport agency. I don't remember who told us about it.
But the thing is, we're in New York. Other places, Stan, these kinds of things happen, and you worked with the airlines. What happens when these things happen over the holidays?
Well, I would probably
And
say...
we love you, by the way, even though you worked with the airlines. It's a very difficult thing to do, I'm sure.
Well, we do airlines. We do provide customer service. So when something like this happens, or if you miss your flight or whatever, my suggestion would be just stay cool and be nice to people, because it works the other way around.
Tell me what you mean by that.
If someone comes to your ticket counter, obviously you as an employee have to accommodate the passenger. And you understand that people had plans and, because of the delay, plans are ruined, connections lost or whatever. We are trying to help. But when someone is very irate and very
Entitled
upset,
and upset, yeah.
and they start raising the voice and making threats, it doesn't help to resolve the situation. So if you just remain cool and work with a ticket agent or whatever, those employees are amazing and they will help you out.
Yeah. So the bottom line is be nice. Now I want to get into some specifics about actually making holiday travel better for yourself. So tips about prep. What would you say, Mark?
Specific to the hotel industry,
Yeah.
I would suggest that if you know where you're going to be going and your dates, make your hotel reservations as far in advance as possible and book a refundable room rate.
How far ahead?
It depends on what your needs are. There's no set booking window. Start, if you know, let's say 6 months ahead, keep an eye on rates and see if they're going up or down. I'd say 3 minimum months outside, you should have something booked, again, with a refundable rate.
Refundable, that's the big deal, because those non-refundables, especially if there's bad weather, is terrible.
And this way, if anything changes, you're not locked in. You'll still be paying a bit more, but the advantage is that you're going to have a greater breadth of selection. You might be able to get the room type that you want with the view that you want. If you wait till the last minute, it'll still be expensive, but you're going to have a much more limited selection.
And you'll be by the ice machine and the elevator, which is never a good place to be. Stan, how about when it comes to air travel?
Air travel, I would probably give 3 tips. First of all, with tight on security, please arrive to the airport earlier, because...
So that just isn't a big, what they say. It's really true.
It is really true. And again, it depends on where you're flying from. For example, if you're flying from Palm Beach International or Burbank or, Phoenix Terminal 3, you will breeze through. There's no problem. But if you're flying out of Seattle or New York or whatever, then you may get stuck for a couple of hours in the line, depending on the time of the day.
Okay.
The second tip is when you do a stopover, when you have a connection, please make sure that you allow at least an hour and a half between your flights, because if there is a delay, you miss connection, your plans are ruined. And the last but not least, if you're traveling during the wintertime for Christmas or New Year's Eve, I would probably avoid airports which are known for the inclement weather, like Chicago or New York, because if you get stuck in blizzard like I did in 1996 for 3 days at the JFK, it ain't
well,
fun.
that wasn't, you didn't see any of the discomfort in his eyes there, did you? Remembering that bench, weren't you?
Yeah, that is correct, yes.
That's awful. Has that ever happened to you, Liz?
I literally was stuck at Newark or JFK the same in 1996 to study abroad. That's so funny, to go to London, and we were stuck there for days. It was awful. But that was a long time ago. But with my kids, we really we book it really far in advance. I mean, flights are booked 6 to 8 months in advance.
Seriously?
Yes, seriously. We know we have to go to London at Christmas, so it's always booked no matter what. And we think about that stopover in advance. And in terms of, now I know, I learned my lesson with the passports. We check the passports months in advance. My daughters do. We got to do that very soon. And hours in advance at the airport. I used to really say, oh, that's ridiculous, 2-3 hours in advance. But we have been caught on lines that are hellish.
Because the thing about holiday travel, there's a lot of people going through those lines that don't travel much. So they don't know about the shoes, and they don't know about the liquids, and they get stopped, and so it can be very, very difficult. I want to know one quick thing. You're talking about booking hotels. Do we do it through the hotel or through like a third-party website, which we will not name, but there's tons of them?
There are tons. Whatever you like, I would say the advantages of booking directly with a hotel, and if you watch television, you'll realize that most of the global brands are spending a lot of money on advertisements to capture your bookings directly, because the hotel companies have to pay a percentage, anywhere from 10 to 25% commission to the online travel agencies. So they would much rather get your business directly. So sometimes you find better deals on the online travel agencies. However, you'll rarely find a better deal than you will get directly with the hotel. As a safeguard, the benefit of booking directly with the hotel company is that
Yeah.
if anything happens, they're going to be graceful to you before someone who booked on a third party.
Yeah, that's a really good
It gives
point.
you a bit more leverage.
And last question before we go to break, Airbnbs. What do we look for? Should we do that rather than like an Airbnb and a HomeAway rather than a hotel? Thoughts?
Just know exactly what you're getting into. If you're booking at a well-known hotel brand, you know exactly what you're going to get. If you're booking at HomeAway or Airbnb, that's great. It might be a wonderful experience, but be prepared to do your due diligence. Look at the photos. Look at the location of the property to make sure it's convenient to you if you don't plan on renting a car.
Good.
And above all, take a look at the reviews. See what guests who have stayed there say, particularly about the responsiveness of the host.
Great information. And when we come back, we're going to recap our tips and tell you just why our guests think holiday travel is really worth the trip. So don't go away.
Looking for a great way to keep your weekly shopping budget in check? Choose your favorite supermarket store brands and you will be amazed at the savings you'll see at the register. Made from the same quality ingredients as national brands, store brands really add up to great savings. Give them a try and add money to your pocketbook.
Welcome back. For those of you just joining us, we're talking about enjoying holiday travel. Yes, it is possible. And so far, we've learned how to manage air travel, book the right kind of accommodations, and how to make the best out of a layover. So we got to just keep going. I want to go back to airlines for a minute. Somebody said book 4 or 5 months ahead of time. You were in the airlines. What do you think about that, Stan?
It depends. Frankly, nowadays, I would follow the Mark's lead. You can book through the third party, so you can book through the travel agency, and you can go directly through airlines. What I personally do nowadays, I go to one of the aggregator site where that collects information from all of the airlines.
An aggregator site.
That is correct, yes. So if we're going to use the name, for example, Google Flights. If you go to Google, you just punch in flights, and then you can plug in your destination, your origination, and then it gives you all the options that are available from that airport to your destination, and it gives you for different airlines.
I did not know that.
It's actually pretty sleek. You can look at the graph. It shows you which days there's a spike in price when it goes down, so you can move around and check the flexible days. And then from there, once you figure out exactly what you're looking for, what you like, you just click go, and it directs you to the site where you can purchase the tickets.
So I'm going to ask the same question that I asked of Mark. Is it better to book right through the airlines or a third party?
It's just a preference. Sometimes you get a little bit of better deal on, through travel agents or through Expedia, etc. But in a lot of cases, if you book through Expedia, for example, you may not get the points if you're into miles.
Okay.
So.
But what about safety? And when I say safety, I mean if there's a glitch, is it better to have been booking with the airlines or with a third party?
Personally, I would probably go with the airlines because, again, if something happens, you booked it directly through the airlines and you deal directly with them. If you booked it through a third party, you have to go to them, then they have to go to the airlines, so it adds a little bit of a layer of communication.
I want to go back to you really quickly. What should we not depend on when we're traveling like you've got kids,
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have traveled with kids as well, or older people or whatever. What should you always have with you and not depend on things being supplied for you? Oh, Liz, jumping out of her seat over
I
here.
mean, when my kids were little, like everyone always had a fever when we traveled. You do not want to go to another country and not have the medication, the over-the-counter meds that you're used to giving. It's called different things in different countries, and it gets very confusing. And we've been in situations in the UK where we're like, we really need acetaminophen, and they're like, what? And it's like, no,
Yeah.
it's called paracetamol. But you have to it's too much when you're stressed about your kid being sick. Just bring your own stuff. That stuff you can pack in your suitcase.
Now, the other things, so I've always heard keep medicine with you, as you said, anything that you have to have. I always keep my jewelry and any kind of things that can't be replaced. Like I would never check things. What about you guys?
I absolutely agree. Don't put anything in your checked baggage that you would not be willing to part with. And depending on your destination, since we're talking about holiday travel, if you're going to a country with certain reputations, I would say leave any jewelry at home.
What about you, Stan?
I always keep my laptop and my cell phone with me. Same thing with the chargers. Other than that, obviously the medications. And I always carry a copy of my documents with me on a paper or on a picture on the phone.
We actually had friends that were going overseas. They not only carried a copy of their documents, they sent us a copy of their documents. So that if something happened, we could fax or email them to a consulate, which I think is really good. Phones overseas. Is it worth it to get phone plans overseas?
It depends. I use a particular carrier which allows me to pay a set amount of dollars, like $10 a day, wherever I go, and it basically transfers my plan with me, so I have access to data, phone, etc., just
That's
like
great.
here.
That's great. Good. Mark, were you going to say something?
Same thing. It depends on your carrier. A lot of them have plans like Stan mentioned, or if it's worth it, when you get to your destination country, just get a new SIM card.
I just get a burner phone when I go overseas. Just kidding. We were talking, when Liz and I were talking, you made me so happy that we were doing this show because you gave me a whole different perspective on holiday travel. Tell me why you love it.
I love it for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of excitement. The kids are off from school. Everyone can relax. It's the only week of the whole year that I feel like my husband is not stressed about work. He just lets it go. And when we arrive in all these destinations, there's a lot of there's magic in the air. The lights are everywhere. And each city that we visit, you know, everyone's celebrating the holidays in different ways, and they get to experience it. We look around, and my daughter and I call it the bing bong effect. We're like, everywhere you go, it's like bing bong, bing bong.
Aww.
It's like this kind of like magical holiday time. No matter what you celebrate, everyone's in a great mood because everyone seems to be off during that time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So, Mark, what do you think about that?
I totally agree. Holiday travel is a time that you're
And the reason I ask is because I was just looking at you, and both of you really started to smile. So I'm looking at experiences that you've had too. So tell me a little bit about why you love it.
Generally speaking, it's a time where you're unfettered to your regular responsibilities to work. You get to immerse yourself in family or friends or whoever you're visiting, the people who are important in your lives. Or if you're going on a vacation with your family, you're exploring what I think are some of the wonders of travel, of getting to know a new destination, a new culture, and have new experiences. It's all good.
And how about you, Stan?
Well, I agree with both of you. It's
Even working from the airline's point of view.
Even from there, yeah, because I actually managed to travel a couple of times as a non-revenue passenger during the holidays, where it's really hard to get a seat on the plane because it's on a standby basis. But yes, reconnecting with the family and friends, learning new cultures and how they deal with certain holidays, how they celebrate it. Sometimes we even travel when it's holiday in the country where we're going to, because we want to experience how it is and what they're. It's just an amazing time, and you should be traveling.
It's an amazing, I'm going to leave it at that. It's an amazing time, and you should be traveling. Well, this has all been great advice, and thank you so much all for being here. And thank you at home for joining us. For more information on what you've seen on today's show, visit Store Brands USA, the channel here on YouTube, or go to storebrandsusa.com for shopping information, recipe ideas, and more. I'm Jody Daly, and I'll see you next time on another edition of Let's Talk.